Last Saturday, you walked into an Apple store. Your old phone worked fine. The battery was a little slow, the screen had a tiny crack. But you convinced yourself you needed the upgrade. It's for work, right? It's a productivity tool. So you dropped $1,200 on the new iPhone. You walked out of the store feeling successful. But then you sat in your car and looked at the phone. This sleek titanium device sitting next to your old frayed charging cable. It looked wrong. It felt wrong to plug this masterpiece of engineering into a $5 gas station cable. So you bought the MagSafe charger. That's $40. Then you got home and your cheap plastic case looked ridiculous on it. You needed the leather case. That's $60. Then you realized your wired earbuds didn't even fit anymore. You needed AirPods Pro. That's $250. Within 48 hours, that $1,200 phone quietly became a $1,550 purchase, and you didn't even notice it happening. Most people would call that being careless with money, but it's not. It's a documented psychological chain reaction that has drained more bank accounts than any stock market crash. It explains why nearly one-third of lottery winners file for bankruptcy within 5 years of their win, according to the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how this invisible spiral works, why your things are secretly buying other things behind your back, and how to build a firewall against it before it quietly dismantles everything you've built. I used to fall for this myself. I know exactly how it feels. And I'm going to break the whole thing down for you right now. Here's the thing most people get completely wrong about spending. They think they buy things because they need them. You look at a product, you evaluate it, you decide it will improve your life, and then you purchase it. That's the story we tell ourselves. I used to believe this too, but that's not what actually happens. The truth is, most of your purchases aren't driven by need. They're driven by your other possessions demanding consistency. Think about the last time you upgraded something significant. A couch, a car, a laptop. After you brought it home, everything around it suddenly looked a little worse. That new leather couch made your coffee table look like a garage sale reject. Your new car made your sunglasses feel cheap. Your new laptop made your desk setup look like a college dorm. That discomfort you felt wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. It was a psychological mechanism that has been documented for over 250 years. This phenomenon is called the Diderot Effect, named after the French philosopher Denis Diderot, who first described it in 1769. It describes a simple but devastating pattern. The introduction of a new possession into your life will often trigger a spiral of additional consumption, not because you need those extra things, but because your brain demands consistency between what you own and who you believe you are. Anthropologist Grant McCracken formalized this concept in 1988, showing that consumers unconsciously maintain what he called Diderot unities, groups of possessions that must culturally and aesthetically match each other. Most people have never heard this term, but every corporation selling you products has. According to McKinsey, Amazon attributes up to 35% of its total revenue to its recommendation engine. Those frequently bought together and customers who also bought sections aren't random suggestions. They are precision-engineered triggers designed to activate the Diderot effect in real time. You buy a camera, the algorithm immediately shows you a case, a memory card, a tripod. Not because you searched for those items, because the system knows that once you've made the anchor purchase, you are psychologically primed to complete the set. But here's what most people miss about this effect. It doesn't just apply to Amazon carts and phone accessories. It scales. It scales to your wardrobe, your car, your house, your entire financial identity. In an economy where the average American household spends $78,535 per year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics' 2024 Consumer Expenditure Survey, while the average pre-tax income sits at $104,207, understanding this single psychological pattern could be the difference between building real wealth and running on a financial treadmill for the rest of your life. So, let's break down exactly how this chain reaction works, what it actually costs you over a lifetime, and the 3 firewalls that can stop it cold. To understand why one purchase always leads to 10, you first need to understand the concept of the anchor item.
The anchor item is the single possession that resets your psychological baseline. Everything you own exists within a kind of internal ecosystem. Your brain unconsciously groups your possessions together and expects them to match. Your car matches your clothes. Your furniture matches your house. Your watch matches your shoes. You don't actively think about this, but your brain is constantly running a background program that asks one simple question. Do all of these things tell a consistent story about who I am? When you introduce an anchor item, something significantly more expensive or higher status than what you currently own, you create what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. The new thing doesn't match the old things, and your brain can't tolerate the mismatch. It creates an uncomfortable tension that demands resolution, and the only way your brain knows how to resolve it is to upgrade everything else to match. Let me give you a real example. The average transaction price for a new car in the United States hit $49,077 in August 2025, according to Kelley Blue Book. By September, the average surpassed $50,000 for the first time in history. But here's the part nobody talks about. That $49,000 car doesn't exist in isolation. When someone buys a $49,000 SUV, they don't park it in the same mental category as their 2011 Honda Civic. The SUV becomes the anchor, and suddenly, everything around it needs to match. The cheap sunglasses on the dashboard, they look wrong. The worn-out floor mats, unacceptable. The gas station car wash, not anymore. You need the $35 monthly membership at the premium detailing place. You start parking further away from other cars in the lot because you don't want door dings on your new paint. You buy a nicer garage organizer. You start thinking about whether your driveway looks good enough for this vehicle. Within 6 months, that car has quietly demanded an extra $2,000 to $5,000 in purchases and upgrades you never planned for. You didn't budget for new sunglasses when you bought the car, but your brain budgeted for them automatically. This is the mechanism that makes lifestyle inflation feel completely invisible. You didn't consciously choose to spend more. Your possessions chose for you. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Diderot effect isn't just about objects matching objects, it's about identity matching identity. As human beings, we crave consistency between our external world and our internal self-image. When you buy a high-status item like a luxury car or a designer watch, you aren't just upgrading a possession, you are upgrading the character you play in your own story. And that new character comes with new requirements. If you see yourself as a Honda Civic person, you're perfectly comfortable wearing jeans and eating at McDonald's. There's no internal tension. Everything matches. But if you stretch your budget to buy a BMW, you have shifted your identity. You are now a BMW person. And BMW people don't wear $8 sunglasses from Walgreens. BMW people don't have cheap IKEA furniture in their apartment. BMW people don't eat off paper plates. The car acts as the anchor. It sets a new baseline for your entire life, and every other item in your life that falls below that baseline creates psychological friction. It feels wrong. So to relieve that friction, you start upgrading everything else. The car forces you to upgrade your wardrobe. The wardrobe forces you to upgrade your vacation destinations. The vacations force you to upgrade your luggage. You aren't spending money because you want to. You are spending money to maintain coherence in the story you're telling yourself about who you are. This is exactly why the fake it till you make it advice is financially toxic. If you fake it by buying a Rolex before you can afford one, that Rolex is going to demand a suit. The suit will demand a car. The car will demand a dinner tab, and that dinner tab is going to demand a credit card balance that compounds at 22.30% APR, which is the current average rate for interest accruing credit cards according to Federal Reserve data from late 2025. Most people think credit card debt comes from reckless spending on obvious luxuries, but the data tells a very different story. According to Bankrate's 2025 credit card debt report, 73% of credit card balances nationwide are tied to essential and recurring costs, things like car repairs, medical bills, home maintenance, and everyday living expenses. The big luxury purchases aren't what destroy most people financially. It's the cascade of smaller, seemingly necessary purchases that those big items trigger. That cascade is the Diderot effect in action, and it quietly bleeds your bank account month after month after month. Now here's the part that will really make you rethink your next big purchase. Let's talk about home renovation, because this is where the Diderot effect becomes an absolute financial wrecking ball. You decide to renovate your kitchen. You set a budget of $35,000 for new cabinets, countertops, and appliances. That seems reasonable. According to the 2025 House and Home study, the median spend for a major kitchen remodel of 200 square feet or larger held steady at $55,000 in 2024. So you figure your smaller scope will keep you well under control. You won't be one of those people who lets it spiral. But once those sleek white shaker cabinets and quartz countertops are installed, something shifts. Your 10-year-old yellowish refrigerator looks disgusting next to them. It works perfectly fine. The temperature is consistent, the ice maker still runs, but visually it clashes with everything new. The contrast is unbearable. So you spend $2,500 on a stainless steel French door refrigerator. Now the fridge and the cabinets look gorgeous together, but looking down, your vinyl floor suddenly appears cheap and dated. The contrast between that premium countertop and that peeling vinyl is an insult to the room. So you rip up the floor and install hardwood. That's $6,000. Now the kitchen looks like a magazine cover. But here's the problem. If you have an open concept house, when you stand in your beautiful new kitchen and look into the living room looks like a dump. The old brown sofa looks sad. The paint looks dull and tired. The kitchen renovation has leaked into the rest of the house. According to a 2024 Clever Real Estate survey, 78% of homeowners went over budget on their last renovation project. 44% exceeded their budget by at least $5,000, and 35% exceeded it by at least $10,000. Those overruns aren't caused by contractor fraud or surprise material price hikes. They're caused by the Diderot effect operating in real time. The new cabinets were the scarlet robe. They became the anchor item that made everything around them look inadequate. And the homeowner keeps spending and spending and spending until the entire environment feels consistent again. Most people ask the wrong question before a renovation. They ask, can I afford this $35,000 kitchen? The right question is, can I afford the $60,000 ecosystem this kitchen is going to demand?
Because that's what it actually costs when the chain reaction is finished. And this is where it gets especially dangerous for your generation. The Diderot effect has always existed. Denis Diderot wrote about it in 1769. But in 2026, it operates on a completely different level because of digital payment systems and algorithmic recommendation engines. A 2025 study published in the journal Behavioral Sciences analyzed data from over 1,100 consumers and found that digital payment methods significantly reduce the psychological pain of spending. When you tap your phone or click Buy Now, your brain doesn't register the loss of money the way it does when you hand over physical cash. The researchers coined a term for this phenomenon, spendception. It describes how frictionless digital payment systems create an environment where impulse purchases feel almost invisible to your conscious mind. Think about what that means in combination with the Diderot effect. Your brain is already wired to complete the set when you buy an anchor item, and now the tools you use to pay have removed the emotional friction that used to slow you down. You buy the phone. The algorithm shows you the case. One click. The case page shows you the charger. One click. The charger page shows you the AirPods. One click. Each purchase took 2 seconds and generated zero emotional resistance. Americans now collectively owe $1.277 trillion in credit card debt as of the fourth quarter of 2025, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That is the highest balance since they started tracking in 1999. It represents a 66% increase from the pandemic low of $770 billion in early 2021. The average credit card balance per person is $6,523, according to TransUnion. At an average APR of nearly 21%,
Carrying that balance costs the average cardholder roughly $1,370 per year in interest charges alone. This is what happens when a 250-year-old psychological trap meets 21st century technology. It's a Diderot machine running at industrial scale, powered by algorithms, frictionless payments, and a consumer culture designed to make you feel that you are always just one more purchase away from being complete. But here's the truth that Diderot himself discovered a quarter of a millennium ago. That next purchase doesn't complete the puzzle. It scrambles it. It resets the board and forces you to start buying all over again. So let's zoom out and look at what this pattern actually costs you over a lifetime. Because this isn't about a phone case or a kitchen floor. This is about the trajectory of your entire financial life. Let's say you're 30 years old and you consistently overspend by $400 a month due to Diderot-driven chain purchases. That's $4,800 a year. Over 10 years, that's $48,000 in raw spending. But the real cost isn't the money you spent, it's the money you didn't invest. If you put that $400 per month into a simple S&P 500 index fund averaging a 10% annual return, in 10 years, you'd have approximately $82,000. In 20 years, roughly $303,000. In 30 years, that grows to over $867,000. You're not just losing $400 a month, you are losing the entire future that money could have built for you. Most people who are 30 right now and stuck in the Diderot cycle will reach 40 with a house full of nice matching things and an investment portfolio that could fit on a napkin. They'll have the renovated kitchen, the leased SUV, the AirPods, the wardrobe, and they'll have almost nothing compounding for them in the background. Meanwhile, the people who understood this pattern early, who learned to calculate the system cost before they ever bought the anchor item, will reach 40 with six figures in investments growing silently. Not because they earned more money, not because they got lucky, but because they refused to let a scarlet robe reset their baseline. I've seen this pattern play out dozens of times, and every time, it's the same story.
And I want to share a number that should really concern you. According to the Philadelphia Federal Reserve's 2025 analysis of consumer behavior, lower-income consumers are significantly more likely to report actively trying to reduce their spending compared to higher-income consumers. The researchers found a clear divergence. The K-shaped economy is real. Wealthier households are spending freely, while middle and lower-income households are getting squeezed from every direction. And the Diderot effect hits hardest at the bottom and in the middle, because those are the people for whom a single anchor purchase can destabilize an entire monthly budget. You get to decide which side of that divide you want to be on, but you have to decide now. Because every anchor item you bring into your life without first calculating the full chain reaction cost is another year, maybe 2, maybe 5, that you push your financial freedom further into the distance. So how do you actually stop this? How do you break a psychological pattern that is literally wired into your brain and weaponized by every retailer on the planet? You can't live in a cave and never buy anything nice. That's not realistic. But you can build 3 firewalls that will protect your money from the cascade. Firewall number 1. Before you buy any significant item, write down the full system cost. Not the item cost, the system cost. If the PS5 is $500, but the 4K TV, the extra controller, and the PlayStation Plus subscription bring the real cost to $1,500, can you afford the $1,500? If the answer is no, do not buy the anchor item. You are inviting a chain reaction into your house. Firewall number 2. The one-in, one-out rule. If a new pair of sneakers comes in, an old pair must leave. If a new jacket comes in, an old one gets donated. This prevents accumulation. It keeps you in the mindset of someone who uses things, not someone who collects them. And it breaks the Diderot cycle at the root by stopping your ecosystem from expanding. Firewall number 3, strategic downgrading. This is the most powerful move, and it's my personal favorite. Keep your most visible possessions deliberately humble. Drive a slightly older car than you can afford. Wear a watch that is simple and functional. When your anchor items are modest, your brain feels zero pressure to upgrade everything around them.
A low-maintenance identity is the most profitable asset you will ever own. It lets you stack cash while everyone else is busy curating a museum they can barely afford. Denis Diderot lost everything because of a scarlet robe, and I think about his story every time I'm about to make a big purchase. He later wrote one of the most honest lines in the history of philosophy. "I was the absolute master of my old dressing gown, but I have become a slave to my new one." The question isn't whether you can afford the next purchase. The question is whether you can afford everything that purchase is going to demand from you after you bring it home. You get to decide. Don't buy the robe.